human blotting techniques. So first of all, I will tell you some basic terms. Then I will tell you about the ELISA. Then the introduction of the human blotting techniques. Then I will tell you about the southern blotting, northern blotting, and western blotting. These are the three different blotting techniques. So let me first tell you some basic terms. First is the antigen. So this term is very much popular right now because there is a lots of news of antigen after the COVID-19 outbreak. So what is antigen? Antigen, it's a molecule that leads the production of the antibody when introduced into the body. So in your body, when some antigen will enter, your body will produce some antibody. Your body will produce some antibody. This is the picture. You can see this red thing actually antibody. This uh, uh, blue thing actually antibody. And this is the antigen molecule. So when it is a foreign substance. When antigen was actually entered in your body, automatically your body actually have produced antibody. And antibody, you should always remember, it will be like this. Some other structure or other form is also available, but one will be the light chain and one will be the heavy chain. One will be the heavy chain, one will be the light chain. So antigen and antibody. Now another important term, this is enzyme conjugate. So it's an enzyme that attached irreversibly to an antibody. Okay, we shall learn more about the enzyme conjugate. It is actually attached to the irreversibly with the antibody. With these things, this enzyme conjugate will be attached. Now chemogen is a chemical that alters color as a result of enzyme reaction with the substrate. So if any enzyme is actually making some reaction with substrate might be the antibody. If enzyme has got bound with some antibody, it will give you such kind of results. It will give you some color like this. Stopping means the process of stopping of the action of an enzyme on a substrate. If here is enzymes are present and substrates are present, if they are reacting and stopping the reaction, there is no any further reaction might be happening. So you call this stopping. At that time, chemogen will be give you such kind of results. It will be stagnant. It will not change this color. Then reading, whatever you are observing here, you have to analyze. For that, you can use this spectrophotometric measurement or the color that actually developed in the ELISA. So another thing I like to tell you about adsorption. You should always remember the difference between adsorption and absorption. Adsorption is always happening in the surface. Surface में जो है हमेशा adsorption. If it is water or anything, at the surface, whatever the activity will be happening, it will be called as a adsorption. Absorption will be happening within the substance. So molecule adhere to the surface of the phase. Molecules are drawn into the bulk of the phase. Absorption. We are actually talking about the adsorption means surface. We are actually talking about the adsorption means surface. Washing means the sample flooding or emptying the wall with a buffer solution to separate the unbound bound from the unbound reagent in the ELISA. Okay, so these are some basic terms. Let me also tell you about a very important technique called electrophoresis. I think in your pharma analysis, you might have gone some basic understanding of the electrophoresis, but what I presume this is not sufficient, and you should know electrophoresis in a very detail because electrophoresis is a part of human blotting technique. If you want to do some human blotting activity, northern blotting, southern blotting, you have to do electrophoresis, especially the gel electrophoresis. So where it is, yeah. So electrophoresis is an electrokinetic process which separates the charged particle in a fluid using the field of electric charge. Charged particle in a fluid using the field of electric charge. The procedure differs in some ways, but all need a source for the electric charge, a support medium, or a buffer solution. Electrophoresis is actually used in laboratories for the separation of the molecules based on size, density, and purity. Based on size, density, and purity, you can separate the various particles, the molecules, especially the DNA, protein, or RNA. So I would like to draw your attention on these things: electric charge, field of electric charge, size, density, and purity. So basically, based on electric charge, you can separate. First, there will be a field. For example, this is the picture of the electrophoresis. here some field will be created in this area. In this area there is a negative charge, cathode. In this area there is a highly positive charge, that is area, cathode. So whatever the molecules are you are actually putting here, so based on its size, density and purity, it will be separated. It will be separated. It will become like this. You can see whatever the samples you have put it here, it is separated 1, 2 and 3. ठीक है, यहाँ पे देखो कुछ आ गए, यहाँ पे कुछ आ गए. So based on charge and because of the charge, they will be separated on their size, density and purity. So electric field, an electric field is applied to molecule as they are electrically charged themselves. It results in a force acting upon them. The greater of the charge of the molecule, the greater the force applied by the electric field, and therefore the further through the support medium of the molecule will move relatively to the mass. Okay, so we shall see about this point in my upcoming slide. So for your understanding, you should have to understand that you have some sample. It might be containing some protein, DNA or RNA, and based on its size, density and purity, it will be separated because of the presence of the charge. So here I have a very interesting picture. So for example, this is the entire assembly. So here gel is present, and there is also solution, buffer solution is also present, and in these slots you have put in some DNA sample. You are trying to separate the DNA. So what you will do, in that area there is gels are present. There's gels are present with some pore, and you are actually creating some electric differences, negative and positive. Because of the electric differences, because of the charge, this electron will be start moving from this area to this area, and after some time you will be getting something like this. Whatever the empty thing you are actually observing, whatever the empty thing you are observing, it will start moving and we will be getting such kind of picture. So if the molecule size is very high, then it will be retained in these areas. If it is very low, it will then move. Okay, so based on that you can separate. I have a very interesting video that I have collected from BioRed. Let me play this video so that you will be able to understand about how the electrophorese is actually working. You may please do confirm whether you can listen the system audio or not.
This video will take you through the process.
Can you hearing the system audio?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Abhishek.
Putting and running DNA
this is the actual instrument, how the experiment is actually happening. You may see in very detail. This is the BioRed instrument.
Agarose gel. You will be using a mini subcell to perform agarose gel electrophoresis. The subcell has an electrode wire running across the bottom of each end. This provides for an electric current to pass, which separates the DNA fragments in the samples. First, align the gel so that the wells are closest to the negative or black electrode. DNA is negatively charged and will move from the negative electrode through the gel toward the positive or red electrode. Place the agarose gel into the gel chamber.
See, agarose gel is actually being placed here. And then buffer will be...
Add electrophoresis running buffer to the reservoirs at each end of the gel chamber, and keep adding buffer until the wells in the gel are covered by at least 2 millimeters of buffer. Place your samples to be loaded in the correct order according to the lanes they are assigned to be run in. Check your lab protocol for this information.
So,
to obtain a DNA sample, slowly depress the plunger on your adjustable micropipette for this information.
Okay, so you are actually trying to separate these things. This is the micro.
To obtain a DNA sample, slowly depress the plunger on your adjustable micropipette to the first or soft stop. Holding the plunger down, insert the tip of the pipette into the microtube with the DNA sample.
देखो in general DNA होता है ना बहुत ही कम amount में हमारे पास होगा. Very micro, that is it will be very small amount, not in ml, in that is micro, in microliter.
To the bottom of the sample, then slowly release the plunger button.
So very small.
When loading the samples, keep the pipette tip perpendicular to the row of wells. This will reduce the risk of accidentally puncturing the wells with the tip. Lower the tip of the pipette until it breaks the surface of the buffer and is located just above or just inside the well. Slowly apply pressure to the plunger button and observe as the sample fills the well. Make certain you stop at the first stop on the pipette, pause, then slowly remove the pipette while keeping your thumb down on the plunger.
So
once all the samples have been loaded, avoid any bumping or movement of the gel chamber. This might result in the sample spilling into adjacent wells. Place the lid on the gel chamber with the terminals correctly positioned to the matching electrodes on the gel chamber, black to black and red to red. Connect the electrodes to the power supply, again making certain the electrodes match the terminals on the power supply, red to red and black to black. Switch the power supply on, then set the correct constant voltage for running the samples. See your lab protocol for this information.
So here you can see the voltage difference. To create the difference between the voltage, let me again play this video. To create the difference between the voltage, here you can see
black to black.
this is actually given.
Supply on, making certain the electrodes match the terminals on the power supply,
but
red to red
you will be taking
and black to black.
Voltage. And then we will switch on.
Switch the power supply on. Set correct constant voltage for running the samples. See your lab protocol for this information.
100 or 60. Yeah, 100. And you'll be setting the time.
If a timer is available on your power supply, set the clock for the proper time for your run.
Voltage difference means plus and minus, cathode and anode.
Press the start button to begin the flow of current that will separate the DNA fragments.
And then run. Then start the activity.
At this point, you should be able to see bubbles coming from the wires at each end of the gel box. Notice that the positive or red electrode has fewer bubbles than the negative or black electrode. In a few minutes, you should see the samples begin to migrate.
Your samples will be start moving in this direction. Okay.
From the wells into the gel. Notice as your DNA samples run, the dye front moves from the negative electrode towards the positive electrode.
And bands are actually being formed. So this is the way of doing electrophoresis. So after completion of your entire electrophoresis, these are some picture. So you'll be getting something like this. So you can analyze what are the substances are present in that particular sample. So this is the molecular weight. High molecular weight molecule will be not able to come up to here. Small molecular weight will be able to come. Okay, so based on that, you can separate different types of presency of the various molecules. So you can use gel electrophoresis in DNA fingerprinting, DNA analysis, protein and antibody interaction. Very, very important. Including the DNA analysis. These things are actually coming in our immune blotting techniques. Then testing antibiotic and testing vaccines. So you can see these are the some example of the various human immunoglobulins. They actually done electrophoresis under agar gel. How they're actually moving. So you've seen the picture, and now come to, after learning the basic concepts or some basic understanding, now let me start the understanding of the ELISA. So in previous lecture, I have asked you that what is the activity of ELISA. So you very nicely pointed out that yes, ELISA is actually used for the detection of the various diseases like HIV. We can detect HIV by using ELISA. So how ELISA is actually working, how you can make another ELISA for another disease, that thing we may learn. So it's a common laboratory technique which used to measure the concentration of an analyte in a solution. So, and usually the antibody and antigens. So if any antigen antibody present, then what is their concentration and other things you can able to analyze. You can see some color is actually forming. Color forming means it is actually positive in maximum of the cases. So for doing the experiment with ELISA, you need one plate like this. There will be some hole. There will be some hole. You can see A, B, C, D, E, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc. So there are lots of holes are actually present. So how you will do? I have a very interesting video on these things also. Again, I will play this video so that you'll be able to understand. There are two different types of doing ELISA or
The
another technique.
enzyme-linked
One is
immunosorbent
that is one is the process. As another thing I will tell you. So whatever the hole you are observing here, whatever the hole you are actually observing in those areas, that hole is actually these things. ये जो hole है वही hole ये है. If we see in the cross section in very detail. Okay, so there are two different types. One is the direct ELISA, another is the indirect ELISA. In direct ELISA, what we are doing, we are actually giving antibody to the surface of this particular hole. We are actually already attaching the antibody. So interactivity is actually happening in the surface. That's why adhesion. ठीक है, तुम लोग को याद होगा अभी शुरुआत में मैंने बताया था that is adhesion is another things. So actually adding the antibody, and then after that we are actually collecting some sample from the patients. If the patients in the sample, if the patient samples antigen is present, then when we will add this the sample, those antigen will become and it will bind with the antibody. All of you are aware that antigen and antibodies, it is specific. For one antigen, there will be only one specific antibody. For one antigen, there will be only one specific antibody. It will not bind with any other things. So if somebody having HIV and some HIV antigen is present in his blood, so already you are actually putting the antibody of that antigen in the surface of the micro that is plate. So obviously this is common. Those antibody will be interact with the antigen, and then you have to confirm that yes, antibody is actually interacting with the antigen of the HIV. You have to confirm by adding some enzyme linked. You can see. You can add some enzyme, and in that enzyme there will be some probe. So as another thing, I have told you at the beginning, the enzyme antibody conjugation. So those enzyme will be actually attached with this antibody, and then it will be you'll be adding some colorless substrate. That thing will be interact with the enzymes, and it will give you some result, some color. देखो यहाँ पे कुछ color form हो रहा है. Can you see some color actually forming here in that entire micropipette? Based on that color, you'll be confirming that yes, the here this kinds of antigen actually present. These kinds of antigen actually present. So can you imagine in a sample, if there is no any antigen is present, then what will happen? Then whatever the things you are observing, such kind of interaction, it will not happen. Then if you add the enzyme linked antibody, it will not bind here. And if you add the other things like colorless substrate, it will again not go and bind with this area, and it will not produce any color like whatever the things actually happening here. So that's why if somebody having antigen, somebody having HIV and antigen is present in his blood, so such kind of things will be happen. Another process is called indirect ELISA. In indirect ELISA, we're actually adding the antigen first. We're actually adding the antigen at the surface of this micropipette, that is a plate, and we are actually doing some rinsing, and then we're actually taking the sample from the patients, and we are from if the antibody is present in that sample, so obviously this antibody will go and bind with this antigen, because antibody will bind with the specific antigen. एंटीबॉडी जो है वो अपना जो स्पेसिफिक एंटीजन है उसके साथ ही बाइंड होगा, वो कहीं और बाइंड नहीं होगा. Okay, so now again you are going to add some enzyme linked antibody. Those enzymes you are going to add. Those enzymes will be bind with the antibody, and then you are going to add the colorless substrate, because the colorless substrate will be produce the color. You can see the colors are actually being formed. So based on that, you can able to confirm that yes, the sample is actually having the HIV or something else. So you can see the color. This color actually I was actually trying to refer. The that is a slightly not greenish, not blue. I think that is turquoise color. This turquoise color you can see here. These things are going to form. Okay, is it clear to you students? समझ में आया तुम लोगों को पूरा जो है concept?
Excuse me sir.
हाँ हाँ अभिषेक.
सर डायरेक्ट एलिसा और इनडायरेक्ट एलिसा में से कौन सा ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव है?
देखो अभिषेक, let me take you again to the video. see,
The
in many of
enzyme-linked
the
immunosorbent
patients,
assay, or
in many of the patients, the antibody जो है ना, antibody जो है उतना ज़्यादा जो है वो generate नहीं होते in many of the patients. So you can see here we actually giving antibody at the first, and here we're actually waiting for the antigen. So in this process actually much more relevant. You know why? किसी के body में अगर कोई virus enter कर गया, so obviously antigen will be present. After some time antibody will generated by the human immune system. Can you imagine? So antigen will be obviously present in somebody's blood. So obviously we shall prefer with the direct. Now in case of indirect, you can see in indirect we're actually adding this thing called antibody. We're actually trying to see the antibody is actually present or not. Okay, so if antibody is actually present in somebody's blood, you can see at first we have added the antigen, then we are actually waiting for some time for rinsing and other things, then we are adding the sample. So antibody जो है ना human body में antibody बनने में time लगते हैं. So that's why in this process it will be not so much effective compared to antigen. ठीक है, so we shall prefer with the antigen that is the direct, not indirect. और भी मैं
सर जो
काफी
आप हमारी
हाँ बोलो.
सर इसमें जो हमारी एंटीजेंस है सर ये हमारा HIV वायरस ही तो है.
यस यस पूरा जो एचआईवी वायरस को तो हम नहीं यहाँ पे यूज करेंगे ना. एचआईवी वायरस का जो है कोई पार्ट, सम पार्ट, देखो पूरा अगर एंटीजन, पूरा अगर एचआईवी वायरस को ही दैट इज द पैथोजेनिक वायरस को अगर तुम यूज करते हो, तो देयर आर चांसेस ड्यूरिंग द टेस्टिंग द वायरस माइट बी गेट स्प्रेड. सो दैट्स व्हाई यू आर एक्चुअली टेकिंग सम पार्ट ऑफ दैट वायरस एज एन एंटीजन. उस वायरस की पर्टिकुलर कुछ पार्ट, कुछ पर्टिकुलर सम मोइटी, दैट मोइटी इज एक्चुअली नॉट हार्मफुल, नॉट एबल टू क्रिएट डिजीज. ठीक है, सो दैट थिंग एक्चुअली गोइंग टू एक्चुअली वी आर एक्चुअली गोइंग टू ऐड हियर, बट this is synthetic. Okay, you can synthetically produce that thing in lab. You're actually not taking the virus and not removing this certain areas, and not you're actually putting from the actual virus. You're actually synthesizing that thing of similar compound. जो प्रोटीन इंजीनियरिंग हमने देखे थे ना, वही सेम कॉन्सेप्ट हम यहाँ पे यूज कर रहे हैं.
Yes sir, I got it. Thank you so much.
Chalo. So this is the way you can do the ELISA. Now let me tell you much more things. So I hope whatever the things now I have written in the principle, it is very much easier for you, because it is based on working on the basically lock and key concept. So antigen will be always a lock and key is the antibody. So the concept is that your antigen, disease causing antigen, it will find with the and its specific antibody, and here it will that is bind. The lock will be go and bind, or vice versa, direct or indirect, whatever you have seen. So key fits into the lock and enzyme conjugate substrate. We have seen after some time we have added some enzyme so that this enzyme can mix with the other thing, colorless substrate, so that it can give the color. So for that, to do the experiment, you first need this thing called microval plate. This is its diagram, its the size and other things. This kinds of microplate, and you also need some multiple pipette or micropipette. Multiple pipette actually useful when you're going to add huge number of samples and other substances. And washing devices also need, because we are doing rinsing a lot of time. So let me also show how in industry or how in our actual lab this is actually happening. I have an interesting video from that is Agniva. Here you will to see. This is the kit. They are actually taking some amount of the samples. They're one by one they're actually adding and then incubating. And then after some time, they'll be getting some color. Yeah, you can see some color is actually appearing. So the color whatever actually appearing now, you can check this color also under spectrophotometer. Under spectrophotometer for its that is a wavelength and other things also. So this is about something about ELISA. Now based on the detection, you can also classify the ELISA in a multiple category. One of the way you can classify based on the colorimetric ELISA. So in that case, the immobilized antigen will be attached here, and antibody will come, it will wash, and it will be forming some complex, and then through signal The substrate addition is signal detection and quantification. Signal detection, some probe we're actually using, no? Some colorless substrate we're actually adding. It is giving you some color. So whatever the colorless substrate we're actually adding and giving the color, some signal actually you can able to get it, some color. You can amplify that thing and you can do the study under computer and you can get the that is antibodies concentration, how much antibody this thing is actually present in a microliter per 1 ml microliter, how much it is present, you can detect that thing. Camilo, that is chemiluminescent, another process. Here we are actually using the luminescence. See, chemiluminescence. Luminescence means some light or some signal. Okay, so here it is opposite. We are actually adding the antibody here. Actually, antibody. I think this is a direct. It is similar to direct process. So actually adding the antibody, and then antigen will be added, and then you're going to do level, and then substrate and signal quantification will be here, and then from that signal you're actually putting that signal into the spectrophotometer, and there you're getting some graph. Based on that graph, you can able to tell that how much antigen actually present. Another way, fluorescence. Fluorescence. I think chemistry you have learned about the fluorescence. Means some kinds of light or color will be actually formed. So again, antibody will be add in the surface of that micro plate, and you are going to add your sample, that is antigen. It will react and it will be that is release some signal. It will release some signal, some color form hoga. That color, actually color, what is color? Color is nothing but wavelength. Or you can also identify the wavelength. So if you see the signal strength, and from that signal strength you can analyze the analyte concentration. These are three different processes by which you can study the ELISA. And advantage, reagents are very relatively cheap and long shelf life. It is very high specific and sensitive. No radiation and hazards are actually happening during the wastage, and very easy to perform the entire process. And equipment is actually widely available, and it can be used to a very variety of the infections, not only HIV. I have mentioned a lots of time about HIV. Not only HIV, other diseases are also we are actually using such things. And it can be also used on most of the types of these samples like plasma, serum, urine, and cell extract. But yes, there are some disadvantages. I hope many of time you can remember. I have told you many of time that इस दुनिया में जो है everything is coming in binary, good, bad, black, white, right, wrong, advantages, disadvantages. You should always remember the concept in your entire life that दुनिया में जो है ना हर चीज़ binary में आती है, everything is binary. So it also having some disadvantage. So measurements of enzyme activity is more complex than the measurement of the activity or some types of the radioisotope. Another problem is that enzyme activity may be affected by the plasma constituent. In that plasma, if some other constituent is actually present, and that constituent actually binding with the surface agent like antibody or antigen, then it will be give a problem. And kits are actually not that is cheap. Actually earlier time it is so expensive. Right now it is very cheap. Okay, specific to particular antigen, do not recognize to other antigen. False positive. A lot of time you will be observing false positive results. It's a big problem. Somebody having HIV, but after doing ELISA test, the result is saying that no, you do not have HIV. Somebody having do not have HIV, but the result is saying that yes, you are positive with HIV. So it's a problem. Such kind of problem should not be happen. The machine should be, the instrument or equipment should be updated with time. Limitations, results may not be absolute. That antibody must be available, and concentration that is maybe unclear. And false positive is also possible. False negative also possible. Whatever I was telling you. These are some limitations of this ELISA. So I hope तुम लोगों को काफ़ी अच्छा लगा होगा और तुम लोगों ने काफ़ी अच्छे से इस कॉन्सेप्ट को तुम लोगों ने समझे होंगे. So do you have any question with ELISA? Is it clear to you all, or I should move forward with the other the immune blotting techniques? Abhishek, clear है?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Achha, Abhishek, where is that is Anushka? Nowadays she is actually absent. but only his note is note taker है ना, उसका जो note है, his notebook actually only appearing, but he is not joining the lectures. I think many of the students are actually absent on today. Kanchan, Anushka, Ravi, and many of the students are absent. Anyway, those of you who have joined, you are doing a very great job, and I think you are actually learning in a very detailed manner. And you see whatever I am teaching in the class. पहले ही बताया था मैंने, ऑलरेडी यू आर अवेयर दैट यू मे फॉलो एनी ऑफ द गुड बुक्स, कोई भी एक अच्छा बुक तुम उठाओ, जो भी क्लास में पढ़ाता हूँ ना मैं, यू मे जस्ट गो थ्रू विथ योर बुक्स, your entire concept will be very very clear. And if you are interested to browse on internet, you can also browse on internet. नेट पे जो है और भी डिटेल्स में तुम्हें मिलेगा सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स. सो whatever I teach every day, try to just recap the same thing on your from your books or in other references. So now let me start with the immune blotting techniques. So immune blotting techniques uses the antibody to identify the target protein among a number of unrelated protein species. So they involve the identification of their target protein via antigen antibody interaction, and blotting techniques are actually transferring the DNA, RNA and protein onto a carrier so that they're separated. Often follows as the gel electrophoresis. Now I think you are very much clear that when I have discussed today at the beginning the basics, the basic terms, why I have discussed with the gel electrophoresis, because gel electrophoresis is a part of doing various blotting techniques. Now what are the blotting techniques? One is the southern blotting. It is used for transferring or separating, isolating the DNA. Southern blotting techniques is for the DNA. Then another is the northern blotting technique used for the RNA. Western for protein, eastern also for protein, but including the addition of the lipid and other things. So what is the principle? Principle is very simple. You have a sample, here is some protein is present, RNA is present, and DNA is present. So the mixture should be separated. The DNA, RNA and protein should be separated. The molecules are immobilized in the matrix. The probe is added to the matrix to bind of the molecule. Any unbound probes are then actually removed and then placed where the probe is actually connected to corresponding to the location of the immobilized target of the molecule. Here are the various types. The northern used for the RNA and the southern used for the DNA. All of you are aware, DNA having double helix structure and RNA having one single helix. And western and eastern both are used for the protein. So DNA is much more smaller than protein. RNA also much more smaller than protein. So in tomorrow's lecture, I will tell you as a time hai mere paas. Okay. So if I tell the differences, as another thing, I have mentioned here the eastern blotting. Let me remove the inks. I have mentioned the eastern blotting techniques. Eastern blotting. So eastern blotting technique जो है, this is not so much popular because we actually use this eastern blotting for detection of the protein. Similar thing you can do by using the simple western blotting. So that's why it is so much popular. So southern, northern and eastern. All of you are aware that DNA to mRNA to protein. This is the central dogma of molecular biology. DNA, RNA to protein. So, south, north and west. Southern blot, northern blot and western blot. You should remember in this manner. In exam there will be question, write the differences between the southern blotting, northern blotting and eastern blotting. Southern blotting is for the DNA. Southern blotting is for the DNA. Northern is for the RNA and western for the protein. So if you prepare the sample, so DNA restriction and enzyme digestion, then RNA isolation in this process. Here you can do the protein extraction. SDS page, another process. You can do protein extraction by that process. Then the most important part, you have to separate either for DNA or RNA or whatever, you have to separate by using, what is the thing? Electrophoresis. I hope you can recall my previous lecture that I have started at the beginning about the electrophoresis. These things, whatever I have shown you just few minutes back. So electrophoresis you are going to use. Okay, जो बताया था मैंने, in that video I have shown you that how the electrophoresis is actually happening. This is the third step. Okay, in this video you have seen that how electrophoresis is actually happening, and you are separating
negative electrode towards the positive.
This is the third step, and in all kinds of blotting, electrophoresis is actually happening. Now, after electrophoresis, the membrane material and your probe level and detection method, these things are actually slightly different for different kinds of blotting technique. You might be observing that for southern and northern blotting, this is so much similar, slightly similar. Southern blotting, the radio level enzymes are actually used as a probe level, including northern blotting also, radio level enzyme. Detection method X-ray, film or chemiluminescence. Here you are also using X-ray, film and chemiluminescence. But the enzyme are actually only enzymes actually added in Western blotting, and uh, you can use the film, cold CCD, and camera LCD or other things for that thing for the detection method. So these are the process, or these are differences, or these are the way you can do the southern, northern, western blotting. And yes, another thing I have to tell you, antibody is one kind of protein. So that's why probe whatever you're actually using here, we are using the primary antibody. And in this case, you're actually using the nucleic acid or DNA, RNA, or oligo, that is a oligo, that is a deoxy nucleotide. We can use these techniques for the separation of the DNA, RNA, and other things. So tomorrow I'll tell you what is southern blotting and what is the application of southern blotting, and then how you can do northern blotting and its process and application of the northern blotting, and then western blotting.